Hello there. Welcome to Dice Dorks in Danger, where we dorks are going to throw some dice and possibly, just possibly get into some danger. I mean, you got a nice lineage going on, may I say. So, tonight, the players that will be joining me that will help bring the game to life will be Krona. Introduce your character and yourself, please.
To respond to that opening, General Kenobi. Hello,
Have
I
no
am
one in the
Chrono.
burrow.
I am playing Richard,
And how's
and I
Richard
have
feeling?
absolutely no idea how things are going to go tonight.
That makes two of us, if it makes you feel any better. Because if those watching have been watching prior episodes, we were down a Dead Man Bones and an Atomox, to which obviously I will take their characters over. And if either one or both get tossed at the airlock, I will try to roll good for you, but I let the Wookiee win. Speaking of which, Crom. Gilius, introduce Crom and yourself, please.
I am Crom. I am Gelius. I'll be playing Crom tonight, and this should be an interesting night. It should be a quiet night. Quote on
Possibly.
quiet.
Yeah. A quiet night. But we'll see.
I apologize now.
I have a secret. I don't know what the crap I'm doing.
Neither do we.
Hey, we're in the same boat. Yes, we also are going to have a guest that will be joining a smidgen later, but we will allow the guest time to do their particular things, and we will introduce said guest at a later time. Okay, so, well, essentially we had last left off. And for those of you that want to watch the entirety of the VOD, I think it should be still on Twitch for a little while, but we also have it on the YouTube channels if you want to watch from Prologue 1 all the way up till last game session to get caught up or to see all the goofiness that transpires in these games. But last game session, Bon Voyage had pretty much tried to get Yumi a very special droid that he knows will make him a lot of money. Thankfully, Ranix had a crew member of his point out a few things, allowing the Dice Dorks, or the crew of the DP-28, to escape, all with the exception of Zoe, because for some reason, cover fire rather than jetpack. But thankfully, Ranix had already anticipated that there might be somebody or bodies that may not go with the flow. I'm sorry, was that too on the nose? Anyways, and had sent Nina and Freya to assist the crew of the DP-28, thereby assisting Zoe to escape. And from there, the crew of the DP-28 tried to get out, but it seemed like it was all for naught. But at the last second, I mean, you guys really clenched together and bonded and formed as a team, and poof, leaving Bon Voyage to stand on his capital ship saying, well done, well done. We are now on the DP-28. Zagar has made a comment about how he would like to join Nina and Freya to get away from the crazy shenanigans of the crew of the DP-28, but he also wants to take Yumi with him, which kind of goes against the whole thing of, you know, taking Yumi to Mojo the Hutt as asked by Ranix. So clearly Richard's of two minds of this, as well as parenting advice with Nina. So, I believe I've covered all the highlights and the highs and lows and everything else. Nina is still going to be standing there in the cargo hold, looking at Richard, saying, so, what were you planning on doing?
So, I'm of a few minds here. I'm not in the slaving business.
Mhm.
And this droid, is essentially a sentient person at this point. Own
Oh,
personality, own wants, own desires.
but a droid's a droid. It's materialistic at best, she says, sentient or not. She just kind
Have
of
you ever
shrugs her
had a
shoulders.
droid threaten to kill you if you take it somewhere?
She kind of chuckles and she says, not particularly, she says, but droids often have their brains wiped by their owners because after a while they do kind of get a little bit of sentience. Um, she just shrugs. She says, I don't know.
There's something about this droid that feels a bit more. It's a Nakosic droid, for one. We know nothing about it.
Rumors, she says.
Rumors aren't necessarily fact. They're usually based in fact.
This is
But
true.
I have seen what she can do.
Right.
On our way out, as she ran by, she caved a man's skull in
Really, she
because
says.
she didn't like what was going on.
Huh. That's sounds like you might need a jettison out the airlock. That could be dangerous, she says.
I feel like dangerous is an understatement.
I'll trust your judgment on that one, she says.
So, we have a few options here.
Yeah.
Zagar won't go without Yumi.
Mm-hmm.
Those two have really hit it off. I dare say it almost seems like they've become friends.
Well, that's good.
That being said, if you wish to take Zagar and Yumi with you, they would be a wonderful asset.
Okay.
I may have sustained some damage that could have jettisoned her outside of the ship.
Okay. I'm listening.
It would require not just my word, but you were a witness to the whole thing.
She just kind of roll. I see
Yeah.
her kind of like crossing her arms at this point, rolling her eyes, and then kind of at the same time moving her head over to one side, and kind of gets this look of contemplation, like, should I not?
I am not in the slaving business.
You
I will
said
move a
she's
lot of
droid.
cargo. I will move a lot of cargo. But something like this, having full sentience, as near as I can tell, she's indistinguishable from a person.
That's
Much more
weird.
advanced than anything else I've ever seen.
Really, she says.
Yes.
I've heard rumors suggesting that they look very realistic, she says, but I mean, I don't know. Like you said, they're not necessarily trues.
Her speech pattern, her wants, desires.
Well,
When she saw someone come up, I didn't catch who they were. She got enraged and tried to break through the barrier to get at them.
really, she says.
That's not normal droid behavior.
Yeah, at this
Revenge
point,
is not normal a droid.
yeah, at this point, she goes from that crossed arm to hands on the hip, and she's like, that's very interesting," she says.
She said she wanted revenge.
So I kind of see if this were a Star Wars show or movie or something like that, it would kind of hit like a high note, like an ominous kind of thing, as it'll more or less kind of screen swipe, where Yumi will be in the refresher. And it'll be one of those things where it's like everything's got the steam for PG-13 rating, and she's got like a hand on the wall, and she's leaned down. She's allowing the water to kind of hit. Looks like she has already taken the time to scrub off the grease and oil from helping work on the engine. As there's kind of a sound of voices as the camera would kind of face in to the side of her, and she would react to certain key phrases. The voices will kind of say, "Oh, come on, it's okay. I mean, I think you're just over exaggerating. How am I over exaggerating?" And then it kind of goes from like this general conversation to, "Wait, no," and you hear like and all these things, and then she just closes her eyes, winces, and then like her hand on the wall just kind of slides off the wall and clenches into a fist. And she doesn't break into the wall, but she just kind of punch it, like slap it. And then she makes a comment saying to herself, "I don't know what I'm going to do, but I will avenge you. I swear it." And then from there, we're going to another side swipe or screen swipe to Crom in the engine room as Jada is. Oh wait, no, you were in the. I forgot. At the end of the last episode, you ended up going to the docking. Good lord. Cargo bay. What would Crom like to do?
You're muted.
Who is muted?
Yes, I'm always muted. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Tom would like to just do a quick once over of the inside of the ship, looking for essentially hairline cracks,
Mm-hmm.
making sure there's nothing going to surprise them when if we get attacked again. Something insignificant as a small hairline fracture could become a bigger problem.
Oh, absolutely. So you're kind of going around the ship, taking inventory of differences from the last time you walked the ship and things that really kind of hitting structural weak points and everything else, kind of looking around. At this point, we're going to go ahead and say that Freya and Zagar kind of round the bend and they almost literally bump into you. Zagar kind of stumbles back a little bit, looks up at you, and says, "Oh, Crom, I'm so sorry."
Nothing to be sorry about. And I just kind of make sure I gonna pat him on the shoulder, not make sure he doesn't fall over.
Yeah. He just kind of chuckles. He says, "Well, thank you." He says, "You're very generous." And then he like makes this body language like he's getting ready to walk away, but then he stops and then he looks back up at you and he says, "Uh, I told Richard," he says, "that I want to go with Nina and Freya,
Okay.
and I can't just leave Yumi here. So I understand everything they've got going on. What the mission?" He says, "But I can't leave her here." He says, "And I don't know what to do." He says, I she doesn't want to go and be sold off." He says, "And I can't blame her. I Do you have any opinions on this?"
I'm just gonna slap Zeg on her shoulder again and say, "Look, we're not slavers, and from what I've been hearing, Richard ain't gonna be doing that. And if worse comes to worse, I don't know what we'll do, but we'll think of something. We always do."
When you say that, Freya will kind of, like shoulder check Zagar, and he'll kind of unexpectedly, move over and he'll look and he'll snicker. And she'll say, "Yeah." She goes, "I trust the Wookiee here." She goes, "If he says they're going to figure something out, don't worry." She says, "I think you're reading into this just a little too much. I think you'll be okay."
I'm just gonna look at Zagar for a moment and say, "About that thing we discussed, have you had any more thoughts on it?"
Oh, the item, he says.
And just nod.
Um, he says no. He says I had to be honest. He says I've kind of purged it from my mind. I like I said before though. He says that's a very unique item and it could be extremely dangerous. I would be very careful in how you use it and what you do with it. To which Freya is going to nose in like it's one of those things kind of like you see in the Thor Love and Thunder thing where Chris Hemsworth kind of she does that like right in between you two and she says what item, what danger, and she's got like this, you know, childlike wonder about her. Like tell me, I want to know.
I just looked to Zagar, then back to Freya, then back to Zagar. Should I actually show it to her?
He shrugs his shoulder. He says, "It's not my item to show or not show." He says, "I. It's up to you."
And Crumb will kind of fidget into one of his little pouches and pull out the droid eye and just kind of show it to her.
Okay. So as you're kind of like going and all this stuff and everything else, and she's get like all this excitement, and she's all, you know, oh, and then you show her this droid eye, and she's like, oh, it's a droid eye, and she kind of picks up, looks at it. Can't tell what model it is, but yeah. And then she looks at Zagar like, I thought you said this thing could be dangerous. And he just shrugs his shoulders. Huh.
You
That's
can't hear it, can she?
yeah. She looks at you, says, I can't what? And then she just kind of leans in, does like a light little shake. Nothing's loose. I mean, some cables smacking against some of the metal framework.
Crumb just chuckles and looks at Zagar. She can't hear it at all.
Zagar nods his head and he says, that was to be expected. Then she kind of gets this. She doesn't slam the piece in your hand, but she puts it in more forcefully than she took it from your hand. And she gets this look of like, you guys are pulling a prank on her, like displeased. And she's like, fine, if you don't want to tell me, all you had to do was say. Like, you don't need to go through this whole rigmarole.
I'm just gonna look at Freya. So I'll just tell you, this droid eye, I've had it with me for close to 200 years now.
Oh,
There,
you're an old Wookiee, she says.
yes, I am a very old Wookiee, and I just hold it up, look at it. There's not a speck of corrosion, decay, anything on it.
Hmm.
And I pulled this from a Sith droid.
She opens her mouth to say something like in protest, but then you can almost see that moment of like realization that she's like 200 years and she's like, ah, and she shuts her mouth. And then she goes, well, Sith lore is not my specialty, she says. I have nothing on this. I mean, it's it's a droid eye, and okay, it's like she is really staggering to try to find out any kind of commentary or anything to help you to understand, or even just to kind of join the conversation. So she definitely bit off more than she can chew in this regard, but she does kind of look at you like, so what are you gonna do with it?
Well, I'm gonna put it into a droid head and see what happens.
You say that, and Zagar just kind of like winces slightly and like holds his head back. He goes, I don't necessarily think that's a terrible idea. He goes, but I mean, knowing what we know about it,
Well, just to be on the safe side, it's just a single droid head. No body, no framework, no connections. Just see what it does.
oh yeah, I could see that. He says, and I highly doubt. He says that judging from the mechanics and design, he goes, it's not like it would house any memory. I wouldn't think. So I don't think it'd actually be super dangerous, but I don't know. He says, my people have, from what little I've spent here, they have a little bit more advanced technologies, he says, and something like that, at least in our culture, he says, could be hiding several secrets, especially since we can hear it.
Well, if it's got secrets, it may still have some of the technology stuck in it somewhere.
That's true.
I mean, I'm as old as I am. I know how dangerous they are.
Well, he says, he shrugs his shoulders. He's like, much like Frey here, he says, I don't have a specialty in lore of the Sith or these Jedi. He says, so I will have to leave this in your capable, wise hands, he says.
Would you like me to keep you up to date on it at least?
He kind of takes just a brief moment to think about it, and he says, yeah, I think that might be wise. He goes, even though I don't know anything about the culture of these Sith or Jedi, he says, I do understand the Force. He says, and I might be able to help you glean ideas for what could be happening or what happened or whatever.
Scotty, would I have any information, given how old I am, on Sith in general, just stuff that I would have accumulated over time?
So, it is possible that you can make a lore check, which I believe in the system is history.
Let me look.
Let me double check.
Okay.
Because I want to make sure, because I believe in one of the other systems there's a lore. I can't remember if it's this one or law enforcement scholar. Scholar would be it, I think. Yes, scholar. So knowledge scholar. To see if. Well, no, never mind. That's for study.
Would it be culture?
Let me double check. Yep. Yeah. Knowledge cultures. Good call.
If I could get my dice out, that'd be great.
Yes, it would be. Now, before you make the roll, what were
Yeah.
you hoping to glean from this?
Well, I was trying to see if I had any like physical information on them, something that like I would have written down or something I would have collected besides this eye.
Okay. Okay. So go ahead and give me your check.
All right. I have a 5 on the wild die and I got a total of 8.
Nice. um, they are, from what you can recall in your years of living, there are many similarities between them and the Jedi. They seem to be, from what you recall, more ceremonious. They seem to do things a little bit more. They did things different, and they seem to do more practicing to almost change things. And when I say that, it's kind of one of those things where you remember that there was many rumors when you were very young that the Sith actually believed that they could change the Force and bend it to their will. And by doing so, such other things as not just organic life, but inorganic materials as well. And there were many rumors in Kashyyyk at the time that they were going to try to raise up some kind of army to help overthrow the Old Republic and the Jedi. Of course, you do also remember how that kind of went, and you know.
Kind of didn't go well for either side, really.
Yeah. Because I mean, these are like I said, a lot of them are rumors. Because if I'm not mistaken, you're talking about 2,000 years between the actual war, and you've only been around for not that long.
Wasn't the Clone Wars? How long ago was it between the the Clone Wars in now?
About 10 years for the Clone Wars. So the Sith that were there weren't. They were around and they would do stuff, and I think what the crap was his name?
Sidious.
Not Sidious.
Dooku?
Yes, thank you. Dooku and things that would have kind of proudly boasted certain things about the Sith and everything else, but it would have been a lot more hush hush than what you see in the TV shows and things like that.
Right.
So there would have been rumors that they were the Sith incarnate, but there would be no confirmation.
Mm.
But that's what I'm kind of thinking with the role, you would be thinking more further back because there was no hard concrete evidence, and you're kind of trying to remember what you remembered from stories and things that when you were a kid that stuck around on Kashyyyk for a long time.
Right.
So
Okay. So I'm just going to look at Zagar, give him what little knowledge I can give him on the Sith.
okay. So as you're kind of going through with this, we're gonna go ahead and screen swipe to let's say Zoe, who is kind of in the room, whichever room she decided to go into, helmet off and just kind of like talking to herself, verbally lashing at herself, being angry, and kind of saying things like, I cannot believe that it went down that way. And then she like stands up and then angrily like throws her helmet, and she's like, things should not have gone that way. She goes, I really messed up. And then she's like, oh, they're probably just gonna kick me off the ship now, aren't they? Oh, they're probably just gonna kick me off the ship. And she just kind of starts rubbing like her forehead, and she's like, I have no idea what I'm gonna do if they do that. Oh, I need to calm down. I need to sort this stuff out. Oh, and then she just gets angry again and kicks her helmet this time. And then we will swipe back to Richard.
I have one question.
Yes.
When she kicks the helmet, does it bounce back and hit her in the face?
No, it doesn't.
Damn.
Yeah, no. It wasn't that kind of a kick. So yeah, we'll swipe back to Richard. And the conversation's kind of, continuing on. This time I kind of imagine Richard and Nina while waiting on Jada to make more of the final repairs and everything else and really working on the engine. You guys might be in the rec room grabbing a bite to eat or something to drink. And she will say, so what about the kid? You got any plans on how you're going to handle that?
What he does is up to him. I told him as long as he's here. He's a member of the crew as far as I'm concerned. He's shown himself to be reliable. He's given me no reason to fear him.
She chuckles. She says, I should have been more specific. The Mandalorian, she says.
The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian.
The problem child.
The problem child, yes.
So what I'd like to do is put a remote kill switch in that gun.
She snickers. She says, okay.
She's quite clearly shown that any small amount of power that she gets will go to her head. She will definitely be on probation, and the next time anything like this comes up, she just won't be allowed back on the ship.
She will kind of take a moment and she'll say a little bit more parenting advice. She says, I understand. She says that this is your thought process and I can't tell you what to do. She says, but I suggest to give yourself time as well as Zoe. a lot of times, even though we think we're doing the right thing, we have a tendency to jump to conclusions or get so fixed on one thing that you kind of overlook the needs of the kid, she says. So, rightfully, I think you are in the proper mindset for protecting the crew as a whole. But kind of keep her in mind as well.
I need to find a way to stress just how severe this was.
She is going to snicker and say, "No, I can understand how severe that could have been. I know. And you need to properly get that across," she says, "but you still need to take time, cool down, think clearly before kind of going in there hot-blooded," she says. "Even though I can see you're keeping a very cool demeanor about this," she goes, "having some time to step away from it can sometimes give you a little bit more foresight or knowledge."
I understand.
Yeah, just try not to jump into it. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. It's exactly what she did. And you're right. I shouldn't make the same mistake she did.
Mm-hmm. You have to set an example, she says. And believe it or not, she goes, and I know she's older teenager, but she's still got enough kid in her, she says, and kids oftentimes will look to the parents, or at least the parental units, parental figures, I should say, and their actions often will dictate how they perceive life. So if you kind of go in guns blazing, there's a certain level of internal expectation of that's how the situation's to be handled. I wish I would have known that when I was younger, but she just kind of shrugs her shoulders and she says, I was basically a kid raising kids. I didn't know anything."
I'm sorry you had to go through that.
She nods her head. She says, "Well, I did have some help. Mentor of mine, also a bounty hunter, Yzerman. He, for the most part, took care of us, made sure that we had a home, made sure that we had work, made sure that we had the necessities. But for the most part, he kind of just stepped in to handle the severe issues and kind of let us be sisters. But for the most part, he let me handle my sisters, saying that as the older sibling, I had the responsibility defaulted to me, that they would always look to me before even him, and that I needed to unfortunately grow up very quickly," she says.
Yeah.
"So how long is the engine's going to take?" she says.
Haven't gotten word from Jada yet.
That's always fun. She'll sit down the food or the drink that she was doing. She says, "Well, I plan on sticking around just a little bit longer, find out what your end goal with this Yumi and with Zagar, what you're going to do there. And I kind of feel bad to just leave you this time knowing that your hyperdrive's on the fritz."
I appreciate it.
"Well, I mean, I went through a lot of headache to save you guys the first time. I'd hate to have to just let you die off in the vacuum of space or something stupid," she says.
Bad for business.
It can be, and if there's anything I've learned from what little bit I've been around you, apparently you guys can offer us just a little extra credits every so often. She snickers.
So keeping us alive is good for business.
"It is good for business," she says with a chuckle. While you guys are kind of laughing, Yumi will walk out of the guest quarters. She looks like she's freshened herself up. She has apparently taken the liberty to clean herself, clean her clothes, kind of dry off a little bit. Some of the tears and things that seem like they've been fixed almost hastily so, but at the same time, you don't ever recall having any needle and thread around. So she probably found a way to kind of patch up what she could as she could.
Yeah.
So she walks out and she goes, so, and she looks immediately at you, Richard, and she says, I assume Zagar already spoke to you?
He hasn't been by yet.
She looks at you kind of like, what? She doesn't say anything,
Or
but
are
she
you
gives you a weird
talking
look.
about wanting to leave the ship?
She nods her head. She says, yeah, that's what I was referring to. He said he was going to
Okay.
go right to you.
Yeah.
You confused me for a second, she says.
It confused me too. There's a lot on my mind.
She opens her mouth like she's going to say something, then she closes it very quickly, and she nods her head slow, and she's, I understand.
Yeah.
And then she looks over at Nina, and she's, hello there. She's, my designation is Yumi. I assume you are the, and she kind of takes a moment and says, Nina Sato, the woman Zagar was praising. And Nina just kind of gets this look of like, wow, I was being praised. And then she goes, yeah, I'm Nina. Zagar has spoken of you highly, as well as your sister. Well, one of your sisters, she says.
I'm
And
just
she
gonna chuckle.
snickers. Yeah, she snickers at it. And she says, yeah, that sounds about right. That checks out. She will then basically say that I don't mean to be rude if I've ever come across this way while in your presence, Richard. She says, but you kind of have to understand. She says that it's against everything in my programming. She says to be handed over to any non-Akozics.
I'm just gonna look at her and go, I feel like there's more to it than that.
She just kind of gets this look of, I'm gonna say doubt, and then she'll say, whether or not there's more to it, this is truth. It is in my programming. She says to not just be handed over to non-Akozics. The mere fact, she says, that Zagar and Akozics was there, that I have someone of my own kin, as it were, is a miracle from the Great Mother, she says.
Is revenge also in your programming?
She kind of looks at you slightly confused and then snickers, and she says, I actually am not capable of things like revenge. She says, I understand the concept, and we're we don't act the way that you think that we act, is how she'll say it.
So trying to break down the bulkhead, put everybody in danger to kill that person was in your programming.
To avenge one's, how would she say this? To avenge one's mistress or master by any means necessary, including being destroyed or deactivated, protecting the family and the clan. Yes, that is in my programming.
So essentially, the concept of revenge is programmed into you to avenge the people that did that.
Correct. Nina's going to kind of whistle underneath her breath, and then she's going to shoot a look over you like, yeah, this is a lot more complex than I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to look at her and go, I'm not in the slaving business. I've transported a lot of things, a lot of less than reputable things. But I've never handed over anybody that seemed sentient.
She kind of looks at you funny, and she says, well, while I can appreciate the sentiment, she says, I almost feel a need to correct you. She says, though there is a certain level of regard that I garnish from my clan and my superiors, to them, I am still merely just a servant. To me, in my opinion, I am merely just a servant. I am very well aware that I am not an organic. And I'm also very well aware of how this universe treats non organics and even the organics, which is why she says I've one of the facets, she'll say, of not wanting to be turned over has rubbed me the wrong way, she'll say.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand that.
But at the same time, she says, I don't necessarily believe that this would be something in the slaving category, she says. Technically.
Technicalities.
She nods her head. I wasn't trying to be prudish. She says, I'm trying to help
understand.
you. Yeah, I'm trying to help you understand the situation for you better, she says.
Regardless, if my crew were to go through with this mission, you would still be putting us all in danger.
She will kind of nod her head and she say, the fact that I and young Master Zagar are here puts you in enough danger, which is another reasoning why she says we would like to leave as soon as possible. And then she will look over at Nina and she'll say, and to the best of my knowledge, we have no plan on staying around to put you in danger as well. But the young master has a particular person that they're looking for. And I intend to help him with that.
I'm going to look at Nina and go, so what do you think?
Nina will kind of look and we'll say she's drinking like a coffee. And she'll finish off the coffee and she'll say, well, this does kind of put a lot of complications on the table. If you were to say that the droid was damaged or lost or something like that, maybe I don't even know if you'd want to let Ranix in on the secret, she says. I would just tell him that it happened and keep her away from him.
Yeah.
Perhaps they found the escape pods, she says.
That will cost me an escape pod. Because to sell it, I'm going to have to lose it.
She shrugs her shoulders and she says, that's up to you.
I'm not saying it's not worth it.
I understand.
And it's a very good play.
And she's like, I've had to do something like this in the past, she says. It works, she says.
Yeah, ultimately, it would make sense if in the fray that they were to escape in an escape pod, not understanding my crew.
Yumi will kind of say, if I may interject, she says, using the escape pod, it's a great idea, she says, but whatever reasoning you have for jettisoning this escape pod, saying that we may have escaped, you have to understand, she says, the boy is organic. I am not. If your escape pods are anything like our escape pods, they're not designed for long travel.
No. But I also didn't transmit where we jumped to him.
She nods her head. That could work, she says. And now everybody knows why the episode is Decisions, Decisions.
Of course. Decisions.
Yep.
I need to figure out what the nearest planet is.
I don't even have a thing of planets on me. I'm trying to think. If I'm not mistaken, it'd either be Corbin Deltas, which is where you guys are home from, or Corbin Betos, which you know immediately that Corbin Betos is a prison planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would be smart enough not to jettison into space.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that he wouldn't have somebody available to pick him up.
She nods her head. She says, "This is possible." Although
He knows little of nothing about the Akosics.
this is very true. She says, "Not many people across the galaxy do know much about our kind." She says, which at the same time, she says, if you lost the jettison the escape pod, you can always say that it was myself, that I just went alone, that I didn't even take Zagar with me.
That is true.
Just because we're the same clan does not necessarily mean that I would follow him, and Ranix wouldn't know that. And then Nina just kind of goes, yeah, but she goes, he kind of knows what you look like, and we'd have to kind of disguise you. Just on the off chance that, for some reason one of his boys are around wherever you are to say, hey, they're here, it could cause you problems. To which Yumi will kind of put her hand across her chin and she'll say, this could cause issues. And then she will look at Nina and she will say, what kind of hair color should I have? To Nina just chuckle. She says, wait, are you wanting to dye your hair? And Yumi just chuckles. She says, oh, no. She says, just thinking about the disguise that I could acquire. I have the build of most humans. I imagine looking and passing for a human. And then she kind of looks at her skin. That's kind of a grayish palette. And she says, of course, obviously, I can't walk around with this. And then Nina goes, are you just going to switch your skin out? And Yumi will chuckle and say, in a manner of speaking. And there'll be kind of a couple moments, like right before your eyes, you're going to notice that her skin color will actually change from that grayish palette to something that's closely resembles Nina's palette. So kind of like a white, I can't even think, almond kind of color skin. And then Nina will just kind of, like chair will move back or something like that. She'll go, what the crap?
That's a neat trick.
Yumi will snicker and she'll say, yes, I do have a lot of neat tricks, she says.
So I've seen.
And then I think at that point, Nina's going to kind of lean in and say, well, you could probably copy my kind of hair color. To which Yumi will nod her head and she'll say, oh, okay. That kind of makes sense. And then about the same amount of time that passed to change the color of skin, her hair will change that color. And then Nino goes, that is freaking awesome. I wish I could do that. That would save me so much time and money. And then she says, and it kind of makes sense because you've got the little dome things on your ears. She says, you got a droid brain like the mechanic. And then Yumi will kind of put her hands on them. The markings. It's best I not walk around with these. And then Nina goes, "You can take those off," and she just snickers. She goes, "No, they're a part of my person. Taking these off would be like removing a finger for either one of you. It would not be very pleasant," she says. But you actually see kind of a flash and a flicker as the little dome pieces will actually kind of fade away, and it looks like she has normal ears. And Nina's like, "What?" To which she just says, "It's a type of cloaking technology. You do not have this?" She says, like, questioning, like, "Why are you so surprised?"
I'm just sitting there, just shaking my head, going, the amount of shit that I have seen over the past few days.
Yes.
I
yes,
should be a lot more surprised than I am.
Yes. So, from there, we'll jump to Crom to see what Crom wants to do. And then I think we will take a smidgen of a micro break to kind of get our guest player in and kind of do some talking amongst. So, but before we take the micro break, Crom, was there anything that you would like to do?
At the moment, other than just trying to tinker away at at making some getting the droid I was working on to work again.
Okay.
I'm doing I'm doing checks on the cargo, making sure, like I said before, make sure there's no hairline fractures.
Yeah, you couldn't find any hairline fractures. You kind of went to every major thing. I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they have data pad type things that kind of help you go through and check.
Yeah, just kind of
Yeah,
hold it up and
more or
show
less. Yeah. So you
it's
probably
so
were
it's
walking around
like
with that,
if there's any veins in the ship that
right?
we can't see with the naked
Yeah.
eye.
Yeah. And you've probably been able to run some diagnostics. Jada's even probably told you how to run them. So yeah, when it comes to structural integrity, everything's on the up and up.
Everything looks good.
Yep. And then
So yeah,
go ahead.
and if that's all that there is, I'm sitting there with a droid head in my sitting at a desk with a droid head in my and just tinkering, going, I do it like this, I do like this, I do like this.
Okay. So go ahead and give me a technical droid repair.
Okay,
And
one
don't
moment.
think for a moment, Richard, that I didn't notice the look that you had of what the crap.
I just have one more thing to say before we go to break.
That's fine. That's fine. Let me get Gillis's check here for Crom.
Okay, give me a second. My dice are all everywhere and everywhere. I need to fix that.
Everywhere and everywhere, anywhere and everywhere, everywhere and anywhere. Doo-doo. So while he's doing that, you guys having fun, even though it's more RP this session?
I am.
I
Good,
am.
good.
I'm sad I got a 6, but it'll get better. Oh wait, no, it's doesn't matter, but it's an 8.
Nice.
But at least it's not a 1.
Right? All right. So you are going to be working on the droid head, trying to kind of get things going. Maybe even kind of mulling over just the possibilities that installing this eye could have. If it does have any information, if it sings to you, what could that mean for installing it? Even though it's an optic sensor, maybe there's also an audio sensor involved with it. Like there's just different kind of things that are going through your mind. There's even the possibility of how Zagar was kind of hesitant and kind of seemed like, well, this could be dangerous. You're kind of wondering, like, well, I mean, it could be dangerous, but how dangerous could it actually be? So, and then I believe, Richard, you said you had one more thing you wanted to state before
Yeah,
break?
I wanted to look at Nina and go, if somebody shows up, I think we found your new mechanic.
Gotcha. Alrighty then. So we're gonna take a micro break, kind of refresh ourselves, refresh our drinks, and kind of get our guest caught up and see what she knows, and see if she's ready. So, alrighty then. Be back in about 10-15, give or take. Not in break.
It really does look like a spoon, though.
It
He's not
does
holding
look
anything.
like a spoon, and Dice Dorks in danger. We're back. So, peanut butter and a shag rug. And from that, inside joke, people. All right. From
And more than
that,
one way.
that's right. All right. So, we have our very own Arena Flair, who has decided to join the chaos to hopefully maybe balance things out with her cacawed wisdom. And Arena, we will actually go with you, and I will kind of set the scene a little bit. You are on a transport ship that is referred to as the DP-13. And you have not been on here long, a few month cycles easily. And in that time, you have befriended the pilot, who merely just goes by DC, from what you can tell. And you ended up hearing that from Drya Sands, who is a mechanic and seems to be a co-pilot to this DC. Also, there are a couple of droids that accompany this DC. One is a C-3PO style protocol droid that has kind of like a forest green armor color to him. He kind of goes around and helps with a lot of the technical aspects of the ship, helps the mechanic when he can, as he can. And then there's also a astromech droid that a lot of times will also go and fix things, but will also be a pilot / co-pilot that they just always refer to as R6. So, Arena, if you'd be so kind as to introduce your character and introduce yourself to those watching.
So, hello, I am Arena Flair. You would typically know me as your chat moderator on Twitch.
And she does
It's
a
always a
fantastic
pleasure.
job.
It's always a pleasure to see the chaos in chat whenever there is some.
Right?
Yes, I am going to be playing Kanza Ren, who is actually a more homebrewed race called the TLZ. Essentially a nomadic tribe, not known very much throughout the galaxy. They're very few and far between, essentially nomadic, and tend to just want to go out and travel.
Alrighty then. So, what exactly, what types of things, just as a brief overview, would Miss Rin have character personalities and things like that?
She is a little bit headstrong. A lot of people that she would have come across tend to be slightly intimidated by how different she looks, essentially with scales covering a good portion of her body and, horns and stuff.
Alrighty then. So I think that's good enough. And we will leave it to you. You're on the ship. We're gonna say that you're in the crew quarters, possibly haven't woke up. You hear some commotion going on near the Dinjarik table. You're assuming from the hollering and complaining, which is a fancy chess, by the way.
Thank you. I was about to ask, what in the world?
Yeah, it's a fancy space chess.
It's like 2-layer chess, isn't it?
No, I think it's just one layer that I know of. But that's not the important part. It's basically space chess. That's all you need to know.
Great, another game I'm not good at. So essentially going to go towards the noise and just look around, yelling out, All right, what's the problem now?
As you yell out and you're kind of gonna, round the corner there, you're gonna see DC leaning his head on his hand with an elbow on the Denjaric table, and you will see R6 on the opposite side, and he has kind of like a little robotic, like simple hand that's kind of out to hit the keys to move the holographic images. And you can see just from a quick glance that it looks like the droid's just beating the crap out of him, and he apparently got mad at a certain play, and he just started hollering and cursing. And when you say that, he's gonna look over and you say, "Oh, hey, what's up?"
I just heard a bunch of yelling, and I thought we were gonna be getting into a fight.
He snickers. He
So-
says, "Not in a traditional fight." He says, "But I am thinking about dismantling this droid." To which R6 dome kind of goes around and you hear, "Oh, shut up," he says. "I'm not actually going to dismantle you."
Hey, but haven't you learned not to play this against a droid?
He will snicker and he'll say, "Well, what can I say? I'm a glutton for punishment." And to which Drya will kind of step in. She's got some grease on her and things that she's got a rag wiping her hands down. She'll say, "Yeah, I can second that." Yeah. As all DC's gonna say. Oh, so how's the ship doing? Well, she's fine. How you're keeping her in such good repair is beyond me. DC just shrugs his shoulder. "Oh, come on, Drea. You know how I am. Just nose of the grindstone. Keep it going. Keep it functioning." And Drea will say, "Yeah, but at the same time, you really need to think about another anything for this ship." She says, "Everything's pretty well stocked and it's terrible." Yeah. I'll get around to it. So at that point, is there anything else that you would like to add?
Just that I'm gonna shake my head and just look at Drya and say, "Did you need help with anything around here?"
She will smile at you very politely. It's a very warm, I don't necessarily want to say motherly smile, but a very friendly smile. And she'll say, "Oh, thank you very much, Kanza, but I think we've got this, or I've got this," she'll say. To where immediately you hear alarms blaring. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And DC shoots his head up and he says, "Ah, what now?" As R6 will stop immediately what he's doing. He'll turn around and start heading past you towards the cockpit. And then DC will be like, will make the statement of, "Sensors detect something. We're coming out of hyperspace early." And he'll start running to the cockpit. Is there anything you'd like to do?
I'm assuming I've jumped with them before, so I'd probably want to go and find somewhere to buckle up just in case.
Sure. You can buckle up essentially right there. They have a couple chairs that have buckles in them. You can head it up to the cockpit and then buckle up in one of the extra seats. Yeah, those are pretty much going to be the places that would be best to buckle up at.
I can go into the cockpit in the extra seat.
Absolutely. So you head in the cockpit with DC. DC sits down, straps in on the off chance that something's going to, bad happen. R6 will have positioned himself to one of the sides of the cockpit, and then he straightens himself out, and you hear this ka-dunk as he maglocks himself to the floor, and then this probe will kind of pop out of a door in the front of the droid and plugs into a we're just going to say a socket, and starts kind of spinning around as if he's using the computer itself, which you've seen him do on more than one occasion. DC will start flipping switches and things of that, and then he'll say, "Okay, pulling out now." And he grabs these levers and he pushes them. I think it's backwards. He pulls backwards, and the blue cone of energy that's just swirling around for hyperspace kind of does this weird thing where it goes from this blue to where it's like bright, blinding white as everything just poof, comes back into this real space and time. And you're going to notice that there looks like another YT 1200 model that is docked with a what looks like a YT 2400 model. So you don't need to know their model types. It's essentially just like saying an 80s car and a 2000s car are like sitting right next to each other.
Okay.
Having-
So just gonna look over at DC and say, okay, so were they just in the way, or?
He'll nod his head and he'll say, "Yeah." He says, "Essentially, how this works is, the sensors are always scanning past, so many. I can't remember how many kilometers off the top of my head, but they're always scanning a certain distance. So if an asteroid or something is stopped in our trajectory, it will force us out of hyperspace if we get too close. But it oftentimes will." Give us an opportunity to do it ourselves, he says. And this is the first time this has occurred that you have ever been in any kind of space travel. So it is definitely a very good question. He will kind of turn his chair ever so slightly, and he'll say, Kaza, do me a favor. He says, hail the ship. He says, we need to find out what's going on. I'm not sure if one of them's broke down or maybe something bad's going down. And he looks over at R6. He says, man the guns, bring them up. Don't power them on yet. He says, but just kind of get ready in case we need to fight and bug out. And the droid will beep, 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 beep. So, if you'd be so kind, roll me a mechanics communication.
I do not have communication, so just straight mechanical.
Absolutely. And do not forget, you have to have the wild die in there. So select your wild die,
Yep.
and then make sure the total adds up to your total dice there, and then give me a roll.
So that is a total of 10 with a 4 on the wild die.
Fantastic. All right, so you are going to be making the communication roll. Richard, we will cut to you. And as you were kind of talking with Freya and Nina and maybe Yumi or Zagar, you're going to be getting a distinct beep that lets you know that there is a communication coming in on the ship's comms.
I'm just gonna look at him and go, yet another development.
Zagar will shrug his
I'm gonna go
shoulders and
answer
she'll say,
this.
"Okay, what's wrong now?"
Someone's hailing us.
Nina will say, "This can't be good," and then she'll look at Freya and she'll motion her head to the airlock and she'll say, "Come on, let's get set up just in case we have to break lock and help." And Freya nods her head and she'll say, "Yep."
You
And
want me
then-
on guns?
Yeah, Adamox and we are going to do this. Nina, before she goes, she's going to look at you, Richard, and she says, "I'm gonna borrow Zagar and Zoe,"
All right.
and then she will corral them up, and then they will head to the ship. Adamox, what's going on? You'll kind of explain things. So, and then Crom will speak up like, "You need me to head to the guns?"
Probably not a bad idea.
Okay. Adamox will speak up and say, "I'll take the other one." So, Crom,
Good
you
call.
run to whichever gun you prefer, the top or the bottom, and then Adamox will take the other.
I will take the top as per normal.
So,
Okay.
question:
Yes.
have I launched the escape pod?
No, not yet. Okay.
So I'm gonna go answer it.
All right.
Be like, hello?
There's it's just straight hello. So as you Kanza, as you do this, you're kind of expecting like a certain speech or like a certain format to this, and instead of getting that certain format that you've seen and heard a few different times now, you just get hello.
Oh God.
And I will leave this to the players to role play out.
May I get a
So-
quick reminder of the name of the pirate?
This particular pirate was Bon Voyage.
That's it. Thank you.
Yep.
So just gonna respond back. Yes. We just dropped out of hyperspace and see that you're having, I guess, issues. Everything okay?
Issues is an understatement.
You're gonna after that comes over the comms, DC is going to lean towards the droid and whisper low enough not to be picked up on comms. Scan their ship, make sure they've not got some kind of a breach that's gonna just set everything off. And then you hear bloop 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 bloop.
So, who are you?
My name is Tanza Rin. I am here with my captain and the rest of his crew. Just making our way down. I honestly, where the hell were we going?
You say that and you hear a snicker, Richard, as he says, well, we were heading to PowerPoint Station to drop off some supplies, but apparently, it looks like there is another DP in the way, he says.
Did I pick that up?
Yeah, you hear that.
Do I recognize the voice?
Yeah, you know this to be DC, who is one of the other pirates that are contracted. He's a little bit more of a freelance, but he will go spells and work for. Oh crap! I done forgot his name. Yeah, your boss.
Ranix.
No, it's not Ranix. Ranix.
Okay.
No, not that one. Your boss, whose name is eluding me at the moment.
Oh crap! I can't.
Yeah, I know. I'm the game master, and I'm supposed to know this stuff, but I just completely forgot his name.
Anywho.
Yes.
Be like, oh, so you're working for DC?
As of right now, I'm traveling with him. Yes.
Richard, is that you? Hey, buddy,
Yep.
what's up? Having
So
troubles?
you're heading to PowerPoint Station, huh?
I am heading to PowerPoint Station. What is the hold up here? You kind of just stopped in the lane of traffic here. What's up with that?
You know how finicky warp drives can be.
Yeah, don't I know it, brother?
So
go
on the
ahead.
way to PowerPoint, huh?
Yep, on the way to PowerPoint.
How well do I know him?
He's been kind of in and out, so you don't make too much buddy talk with him. The times that you've been around him, he seems like he is, a pretty funny kind of guy. Tries to be upbeat and jovial even in dark times and everything else. He tries to be a positive influence. You don't ever remember anybody saying anything bad about him. He doesn't really seem to have a temperament. A lot of things just kind of roll off his back. He seems like he's a pretty okay guy.
So just for like history and flavor, has he ever like given me a heads up on anything?
Let us consult the coin. The magic coin. Ooh.
Ooh.
Why, yes, he has.
Okay, that makes my decision a lot easier.
Yep.
Be like, so careful on your way to PowerPoint Station.
Why? He says.
Bon Voyage may be a little upset.
Wait, he kind of takes a moment and goes, "The pirate dude?
Maybe.
What'd you do?"
He wanted my cargo and I didn't want to give it to him.
Oh, did he get the cargo?
No.
Oh, well, you did a good job.
Yes, but he's rather upset.
He'll get over it.
Maybe, maybe not.
Ah, silver lining, friend. Silver lining.
Yeah.
So since you're just stuck in the middle of traffic, did you need any help? Or are you getting help from the honey badger? He says.
They're here with us. Complicated story, by the way.
Well, snap decision. You can tell me what he says once I dock, and you hear some switches going on and things that he says. I'll talk to you here in a little bit.
Sounds good.
All right. And then he'll just look back at Kanza and say, "You can cut communications."
And she does.
All right. So he will take the time. He will pilot in, and he'll be doing his docking procedures and things that on the other side of the DP-28. So
as they're docking, I will
Yes.
walk out to Nina and be like, "Hey, it's a person I know. I've worked with them before. They're fine."
Okay.
I don't need to be up here.
No, you can get off the guns. It's DC.
Okay.
You hear Iron Mox go, DC owes me money, he says.
I'll tell you what. You can take that up with him when he gets here.
I might. Or I might just let it go, he says, kind of under his breath.
I'm not bringing it up for you.
Yeah. All right. So you make everybody on the ship aware of what's going on?
Yes.
Okay. Nina will, Jada, when you tell Jada this, she'll go, "Oh, this one is very happy. Drea is a very good mechanic. Drea can assist Jada in repairing the engine faster. So much faster," she says.
How long do you think?
She'll kind of look at the parts that are laying around and things and she'll say, 2 hours tops. With our combined abilities, 45 minutes, maybe.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All right, so they will go through the docking procedure and things like that. As they get up to the ship, make dock, poof, you'll hear all the kind of sounds of the air being vacuumed out and all the kind of fun stuff, things being pressurized and all that. And DC will flip a few switches, look over at R6, and he'll stand up and pat the dome and say, "Bump, bump." He says, "Leave you in the cockpit, buddy." He says, "If anything goes wrong, shoot me a message." And the droid will boop, 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 boop. And then he will look back at you, Kanza, and say, "Coming?"
I don't see why not.
Okay. So yeah, the three of them will basically hit the door, and they will walk in. We'll say Jada lets them in. When they come in, Drea looks at at Jada with a smile, and she'll say, "I see you're keeping this old bucket together." And Jada will laugh. She'll say, "Oh, Richard does not make it easy on this one." And she'll laugh. No, I don't think he does he? So what's wrong? Follow Jada, she says. That's all she does, and they start walking to the engine room.
I'm going to look at DC and go, been a while.
It's been a little bit. So what's the story, he says as he stands there, crosses his arms, and you will see a unique species just kind of walk in from the airlock and stand right behind him.
I'm just going to look past him and go, sounds like you have an equally interesting story.
He looks over, he says, "Oh, yeah, Concept? Yeah, she's just kind of working around, getting some money. Kind of new to a lot of the inner workings of the galaxy. He says, I kind of just felt, hey, why not? Could use the extra hands.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. He says, Kanza, Richard, Kanza. I know this
Nice to
guy.
meet you. I'll
He-
hold my.
yeah.
What do you say?
As he's reaching his hand out, he kind of leans into Kanza and he goes, terrible sabak player. And just like nods his head with like a little smirk. Sabak is their version of poker.
Oh.
Yes.
I thought that was Bazak, but
It might be, but
Tomato, tomato.
yeah.
She will reach out a hand and grab his.
I'll shake hands.
Yeah, she's got a strong grip. I wouldn't say it's a Wookiee grip, but I'm not saying it's a Wookiee grip.
Be like,
That's my pouting hand.
I'm just gonna look at it and go, that's a grip.
Oh, sorry. I sometimes forget not all creatures of the universe are as durable as myself.
Was I just insulted? I'm gonna look at DC.
DC just kind of goes, I mean, you're pretty soft, so I don't think so. You know, just gonna snicker at you.
You too, meatbag.
He will laugh and things, and he'll slap your shoulder and things. He's like, yeah, we need to hang out a little more often. He says, I kind of miss you.
Same. So, have you ever been chased off of PowerPoint Station?
He will kind of think of it for a moment, and he will say, yeah, that one time with Flota, the smuggler, the Twi'lek smuggler, she wasn't happy with me for a few different reasons. He kind of like eyes trail off and things of that. And then he's like, yeah, he says, then there's the one time, he says, ran into some kind of young hotshot. I think his name was like Dash Blink Lighter or something. I don't remember. Yeah, he kind of took it rough. He says that I whooped him in Sabak.
Well, long story short, Bon Voyage tried to head us off at our ship. We went in, bulkhead drop, scrambled a handful of fighters, no small number, and then he came himself.
Really? He says. Kind of odd for a pirate leader to do something like that. He says they're usually pretty cowardly. Send the wave,
Yeah.
you know.
He was rather upset that we didn't hand it over.
Ah.
It might have also something to do with the Mandalorian, but
He laughs. He goes, "You still have Zoe on your ship? I thought you were wanting to get rid of her."
keep it down.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were wanting to get rid of her.
Long, complicated story. Still owes money.
At that, you're gonna Crom is going to come out of the gun turret, and you will see DC and Richard having a conversation. And as they're talking, DC's gonna look over. It's like, Crom!
I'm just gonna look at DC. DC!
And you know, they'll like run to each other, and they give like this big bear hug and things that. And DC's not a short dude. He's like 6'1", 6'2", but clearly Wookiee has height advantage. And you wouldn't think most people could be that tall, could be picked up and like ragdolled. Crom makes it look like it's just another day at the office, man. He picks him up, goes around, and you can hear DC going, ah, and things like that, and he puts it down, and then DC slaps his shoulder. She's like, how you doing, you old fuzzball?
Oh, I'm doing fine. You're not dead yet?
Oh, not yet. He goes, many have tried, though.
It was fun. We got stuck on a death world not too
What?
long ago.
What? What Death World?
What was it? Oh, it was I think it was the Black Suns?
What? The Black Sun? You look back at Richard.
Not
left that
related to
part out.
PowerPoint Station.
Well, still, that's a story.
It's a story and a half.
And then he'll kind of look back at Crom, and then he'll be like, "I bet you Zoe had something to do with that one too, huh?"
You know, I wish I could say it was her fault. Though I do have a funny story about a head in a ship.
He's
I'm
like,
just gonna look and go, have you
"Yeah, I
ever
got it."
seen a Mandalorian dent their helmet?
He loses it laughing. I mean, everybody can hear it, and he's like, "Oh, shut up!" And he looks right back at Crom. He goes, "You have got to tell me this story. What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened?"
I'm gonna look at, I'm gonna interject and be like, well, he can tell you the story. I may or may not have been conscious.
He looks at you and just kind of chuckles. He's like, "Hey, you're alive, and that's what counts, my friend."
Crom's just gonna look at them, make it sound like a jetpack, and the sound of his head fist hitting the top of the ship.
And DC will just lose it. Like he's crumpled over at the waist, hand on the knees, just killing himself laughing. Now, Kanza, you're kind of feeling a little left out here as you see these old people, quote unquote, old friends, kind of getting together, laughing and talking and things that. Let me have you roll a perception spot.
Okay.
Let's see. While she's doing that, once they regain their breath, I want to look at Crom and go, she's got a grip like you.
She now. And I just look over her, and just hold my big old Wookiee hand. Crom.
So before that,
Yep.
damn, it is a 16 with a 4 on the wild die.
All right. So just as Crom is going, Crom, you are going to notice that there is this young Akozix kid. He's just kind of walking around the bend, and then he is actually looks like he's going off to one of the rooms. He's not really paying that much attention, but from what little you know of the Akozix and the interaction that your people have had with their kind, it's kind of an interesting development that you had spotted one on the ship. As Crom puts his big, meaty Wookiee hand right in front of your face, essentially.
Kanza's gaze will go from the Ekozix walking by and just shake her head and snap back to reality and grabs his hand. Kanza.
All right. So just for fun, I would like for both of you to give me a strength check. Straight strength with the wild die.
Alright.
And ones will not count for this. So if you get a 1, just add it up like normal.
Okay.
And that is a 17.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 18.
Fantastic.
$22.
22. Yeah, Crom, you're gonna be impressed by the amount of strength she's putting into this handshake. You feel like you have the strength, but like you're kind of half expecting like her hand to crumple. Kanza, you are surprised that this fuzzball has such a sturdy shake. It is actually very impressive.
Often.
You must be the one that DC was just talking about.
DC's talking about me behind my back again.
DC says nothing.
I just snicker.
Just chuckle.
Either way, it is good to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
DC will kind of bring the conversation back to PowerPoint station and everything else, and he'll slap Richard on the arm a little bit, and he'll say, "So you got into a bunch of trouble and things, Ed." He says, "Mind me asking, what was the cargo? Was it Ranix's specialty? Special cargo?"
Might have been a little more special than his specialty.
Really? He says, "That's impressive. Now I gotta know what it was."
Well, it was a droid.
Oh, okay. What's so special about a droid?
You know, since I've known you a long time, I think I can let you in on it. It was an Kozix droid.
Oh. What's an Kozix droid?
Indistinguishable from a person.
Huh.
It looks like a person with a droid brain. Acts like a person with a droid brain.
That's weird.
If you didn't know it was a droid, you would not know it was a droid.
Oh, so kind of like what was it? Oh, I remember hearing something about human replica droids. He's like, kind of, yeah, something like those, right? Like
On
really, really
crack.
close.
On spice.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a droid while it's just running by, well, human replica droid, mind you, have the strength to just cave someone's skull in because they were in the way and they didn't like what was going on?
No, I've not seen the human replica droids do that. He goes, but there are a couple different types of battle droids I've seen do that.
Well, this droid can.
Huh.
And did.
So it's some kind of battle droid then.
That can pull people straight out of glop grenades.
Really?
Doesn't care.
Huh.
Anything does not phase this. And near as I can tell, it wasn't a battle droid. It was just some, for lack of a better term, nanny droid.
A nanny droid has enough strength to like crush someone's skull.
Yes.
Why?
Because of Kozix? I don't know. Maybe it's not that strong in their society.
That's kind of a scary thought, he says.
Terrifying.
So as they're having this conversation, Kanza, knowing that you'd seen the Kozix kid and that there's an Kozix droid, is there anything that you'd like to maybe chip up and say or ask?
So I would like to point out that I said it was a droid.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. No, yeah, at the beginning you said something like a Kozix droid. You did say a Kozix droid.
I said was a Kozix droid.
Oh.
I threw the was in there.
Yeah, okay. Now I'm picking up what you're putting down. Yeah, so was.
Okay.
Okay, yep. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Kanza?
She's just gonna step up. So what you're telling me is whoever built this, or maybe the Kozaks in general, I guess, are they violent people?
Not that I can tell.
You would know differently. Kanza knows differently.
She's just gonna nod and say, okay.
Let me put it this way. The one that I have met has been nothing but nice.
Even the nice ones can turn on you.
Anybody can turn on anybody. I get the feeling you don't like a Kozix.
I just know a little bit about their people and what they can be capable of.
I know some people that would love to meet you.
DC at that comment will say, well, once we drop our shipment off, he says, I mean, if she wants to, I mean, I got to make sure she gets paid for the job, but I mean, that's up to you two, he says.
What do you say? I look at Kanza.
I'm gonna look over at DC and say, "Do you think this will be a good opportunity to explore even more of the galaxy?"
I can guarantee it won't be boring.
DC will laugh and then slap Richard on the back kind of hard. He says, he is not lying. This guy gets into more trouble than I have ever seen anybody get into. For a runner, for Homestar Logistics, dude gets into some crazy crap.
To be fair, I get paid fairly well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that he does.
That is always a good bonus.
Gets paid fairly well, and I mean, I know you probably didn't notice me noticing, but you did seem a little more bored making just simple runs. If you want something that's a little more exciting, I have good things to say about Richard. Now you might end up dying, but it'd be fun.
Hey. How long have we been in game with this crew?
Well, let's say about a year and a half, 2 years, something like that.
Okay, so we've probably been together about 2 years then.
Yeah.
Be like, hey. Haven't lost a crew member in 2 years.
He's gonna nod and be like, "Mm, you know, what's the point of dying if you're bored?"
DC will nod his
No,
head and say, "Yeah, I understand." And then Cromwell, what
Crom's
are you
just
gonna
gonna Crom's just gonna chuckle and say, "Don't die boring. Go out with a bang."
say? Alrighty then. So we will allow some time to pass for like the engines to be worked on more and all of that kind of fun stuff. So it's going to be kind of like that. You guys are getting ready to jump and do what you need to and everything else.
If I may.
Yeah, I was going to ask if anybody wanted to do anything beforehand.
So I was going to look at him and go, so what's her cut gonna be?
He said just kind of a simple supply run. He says it was only going to be about 1,000 credits.
You want to wire it to me and I can just pay her here?
Yeah, if you want to. I have no
Is
problem.
that good with you, Kanza?
That'll work for me.
All right. Be like, give me a moment. I trust everybody here. I'll walk to my quarters and come back with a bag of credits.
Nice.
Here you go. Here's your cut. I'll let you know what bank account to send it to.
He nods his head. He says, "Yep, you got my communication comm number. Just hit me up, or I'll hit you up. I should blah, 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 blah. See,
Yeah.
my brain just decided to want to randomly shut down. Yeah, I will, as soon as I get paid, he says, I will let you know. He says, then we can get that all squared away.
Above game. Don't you worry about blank. Let me worry about the payment.
Right? So yeah. Was there anything anybody else wanted to do before we end up kind of parting ways with DP13?
Moment. I'm just gonna do one. I'm just gonna do a quick cargo check.
Sure.
And
So-
I knock something down.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just knocked something over.
Nice.
So I will like take him around the ship, show him the new droid brain, the cargo hold, and all of that.
Nice.
Basically, make it apparent that there is not a droid on board.
I got you. He's kind of complimenting on what you got and everything else, and whistling at like the droid brain and everything else, and he's like, man, that's some good stuff. Jada, pick it out.
Yeah, she saw a nice droid brain. Gave her the credits while I was doing business.
Yeah, she is one hell of a mechanic, he says. And then from a little bit of a distance, you hear, I said one. I didn't say the best or anything crazy like that. Don't give me crap. And then you would just hear a chuckle. Yeah, but as you're kind of going around showing in things that He doesn't really seem to be asking too many questions and things that he's just kind of taking the tour. It's probably been a while since he's seen the upgrades on the ship and things that you guys are swapping some old war stories and some horror stories about working at Homestar Logistics. We'll hear
The
over there.
horror that was the Black Sun.
Yes, he will be awaited with bated breath as you're like the Black Sun story. Let me tell you, aliens. No, I'm just kidding. Not too far off. Anyways, so yeah, that's what you're gonna be doing. Kron was just gonna be securing stuff. Kanza, was there anything you would want him to do?
Kanza would essentially just follow Richard and DC around, get a layout of the ship and
Okay.
where everything is.
Okay, fantastic. Alrighty then. So that's what everybody's gonna be doing. Once the engine ends up getting repaired and everything else, DC and Drya will basically part ways and all the kind of fun stuff. They will detach and then plot a new course and bounce right on ahead. Freya and Nina will be standing there looking at you, Richard, going, so, and then they'll kind of, well, we're going to assume that they're smart enough to pull you away by yourself. They're going to say,
Yeah.
so, what are we going to do? What's the call?
Well, he's making a run to PowerPoint Station. I know he has a lot of dealings with Ranix.
Mhm.
It's been very obvious there's not a droid on board.
Yeah, this is true.
So, if they still want to go with you, he can corroborate my story that there's no longer a droid on here.
She will snicker, nod her head, and she'll say, smart play and fortuitous timing, she says.
Extremely fortuitous.
I know. She will then look at Zagar and Yumi, and then they'll kind of have a conversation, kind of going on and things that, talking about, kind of going where they might want to go and all this other kind of fun stuff. Before Nina takes him, though, she will look at you and say, in case there's any complications, did you want to call Ranix now?
I was going to call him as soon as possible.
She'll laugh and she'll say, we'll wait here just in case so we can plot and plan more, she says.
All right. Now I'm going to go and call Ranix.
All right.
After I launch the escape pod.
Yeah.
So that it can get a distance.
Yeah, you're good. It's going to take a little while this time versus the last time. But he will answer. And he'll say, Richard, he says, oh, thank the stars you're still alive. Damage reports. What's going on? He says, I haven't heard from you in a while. He says, I didn't want to communicate. He says, just in case. Bon Voyage wanted to try to track comm signatures and things like that. He says to potentially get you pinged in. What's going on? You have to fill me in.
So, good news is I'm alive.
Clearly.
The ship is in one piece. We finally got the frickin' engines back up. That was a nightmare.
He laughs. He says, that was some good timing. He says, I tell you, he says, that Jada, one heck of a mechanic.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Ran into DC as well.
Oh, DC. He says, such a good fellow.
That being said, I'm missing an escape pod.
There is this moment of silence, and he says, please tell me, he says, it's because it was shot off of your ship, and it's not what I think it is.
Unfortunately, it is what you think it is.
Is all you're going to hear Ranix do. That was a lot of credits that I'm now out on.
I'm out in escape pod and the job. We were busy trying to keep ourselves alive. And weren't able to keep a close eye on her.
He says, I can understand. He says, but he says, I don't know how to explain this to Mojo. I really don't. I
Oh,
just
Jojo.
Mojo Jojo. I don't know how to explain this to Mojo. Uh, this is going to be a conversation that I am not looking forward to.
If need, we can do a few jobs to help cover the losses.
Ugh.
Not just for you.
He nods his head and he says, "This is a sentiment." He says that I will allow Mojo to. Um, I will tell Mojo. He says your sentiment. He says, having said that, he says, in the time, he says that you have been away, that I have spoken with Mojo. He says, of course, this will change plans slightly. He says, now that the droid has used the escape pod to get away, he says, but Mojo was going to hire your crew to infiltrate a, well, I guess somewhat familiar Imperial base on your moon at Corbin Deltas. Apparently, he needs some information. The boy is getting very antsy of believing that the Empire is going to take over his operations.
I can get back to you if I can find the escape pod, but it was launched quite a while ago.
There'll be kind of a little bit moment of silence, and I say, "I understand." He says, "Just know," he says, "that if you take up this job, if it's still on the table," he says, "after not having droid," he says, "which, from the sound of Mojo, it definitely could be on the table." Um, he was willing to hand over a nice sum of credits.
But on the plus side, I do note your infatuation with the Kozaks.
Yes, yes, he says, I wouldn't call it a hobby, he says, but fascination, yes. I can agree upon this word.
So, DC was traveling with somebody that's joined my crew that says that they're a bit familiar with the Kozaks.
Really, he says.
Really?
Hmm.
Now, no offense to you, but with Bon Voyage not being too happy with me right now, I kind of want to lay low from PowerPoint Station for a bit. I don't want to show up and immediately get shot down.
He chuckles. He says, "This is something that I can understand." He says, "You got to take care of number one, yeah."
Yeah.
Mm.
However, next time I'm in town, we might be able to arrange something.
I imagine that we can arrange a meeting. He says that anytime you come back. He says whether it's running spice or whatever. He says, yes, I can always pencil you in. He says.
Appreciate it. And I do really appreciate your understanding.
He says, Richard, my boy. He says, I've known you for some time now. He says, and while this is very upsetting, he says, there's just more to it that I have to consider. He says, and I have to warn you. He says, this puts me over on the hook, and unfortunately, this may put you on the hook as well. We aren't exactly out of the fire yet, he says.
I understand. Just keep me updated if you can.
Yes, yes. That I will, my boy, that I will. Stay safe, he says, and just on the off chance, he says, aside from your other dealings with the Black Sun, just in case Mojo decides to get angry, he says, just be on the lookout for potential bounty hunters.
Ah, my favorite words.
Mm. Yes, he says, I'm a little more secure here, he says, but like I said, he says, I also am on the hook. Huts
I'll
can
see what I
be-
can do for us.
Huts can be unreasonable lots.
Yeah. Yeah, they can.
Was there anything else that you wanted to add with it?
No, I think that's good.
All right. He will go ahead and cut the communication, saying his goodbyes. And what would Crom like to do in this time while Richard was talking?
Crumb is in the cargo hold. He's a bit pumped up right now, so he's just kind of shadow boxing in the cargo hold, just kind of trying to cool his head off a little bit.
All right. So you're in there shadow boxing, and then Kanza, what would you like to be doing now that you're officially a part of the crew? Apparently,
That was easy.
apparently you just got paid for the job, and he said, "Yeah, she can tag along."
Trial period.
Yeah, that's true.
So I assume that making the rounds, Richard would have pointed out like living quarters
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Absolutely. Though it is not important for the audience, I can allow you to get a better layout and re-show you the ship layout. Tokens may not match up exactly to where everybody is and things like that, but just so you can see the ship layout. Captain quarters are closest to the cockpit. Behind that are your crew quarters, and then the ones over here are the guest quarters. It's despite having all these things, it does not feel very cramped of a ship, and it has a lot more than what DC's YT 1200 had. It's actually kind of almost impressive. So, but yes, you know where the crew quarters are.
Okay. So should essentially just be in the guest quarters, I assume is where she's gonna be for now.
Sure, that's what you want.
And
In the guest quarters, there are about 6 beds. It looks like there's a couple of them that are taken up. There is a refresher unit, which is just a fancy way of saying a bathroom. Yeah, there looks like there's kind of like I wouldn't call them nightstand tables. In my mind, I always kind of seeing these type of ship beds having kind of like drawers that are in the wall that you can essentially put all your belongings in. And then there'll probably also be like another bigger thing you can put bigger items in. Yeah, so that's pretty much the long and short of that.
okay. So yeah, she's just gonna be in there, essentially putting the little bit of clothes she has in proper drawers and essentially making sure all of her belongings are accounted for.
This sounds
It'd
good.
be a shame to have left something on DC's ship.
Far as you know, you
Might
got it
get
all.
sold.
Yeah, as far as you know, you have it all. Alrighty then. So, the shadow boxing for a brief little bit will kind of go back to Crom. And you actually notice that Zagar and Yumi are actually sparring. They're speaking in their own language. The kid is getting floored by this Yumi. She is very precise. You can tell just from the mannerisms, she is critiquing like every movement he's making, good and bad. But yeah, she is not holding back at him. On him, she's just kind of, like says, just training him, kind of working with him and things that while they wait on the final decision of what Richard's going to say. Which at this point, Nina and Freya are going to be watching Yumi and Zagar kind of fight and sparring and things that as Richard will walk up and Nina will look over to you and say, "Oh, hey, what's up, Richard? Contact Ranix yet?"
Yeah.
Hmm.
So Good news and bad news.
Okay.
I would also like to get Zagar and Yumi over here for this as well.
So you kind of get their attention. They will stop sparring, and then they'll walk over. Zagar, you can actually see Zagar's got some bruises on him. His clothes are a little disheveled, but they're not torn and things like that. But yeah, he just looks at you and says, "Yeah, what's up?"
So, you two have a decision to make. So, as far as Ranix knows, Yumi escaped in the pod.
Well,
That's
that's
going to
good.
cause massive complications for me,
That's bad.
as with who you were originally scheduled to be delivered to, and I'm looking at Yumi.
Mhm.
They can be a very unreasonable lot, and I may have more bounty hunters after me. That being said, the hut would like to hire all of us, you two included, to get some information from an Imperial base. So you were not going to be delivered to the hut.
Yumi will nod her head, understanding. Zagar will kind of seem like he's falling along, and the hamster falls off the wheel, and then it seems to get back on the wheel, and then he nods his head.
So I told him that I would take a look for the escape pod. If I found it, I would get back to him. So if you guys want to go, feel free. We'll find a way to manage. If you would like to stick around and take this job with us, I don't know what's going to happen afterwards.
Okay, so having given them this speech, do you have a personal preference? Would you perhaps try to persuade them, or are you just literally leaving everything in their hands?
I'm going to go ahead and just leave it in their hands. I
Okay.
told them that I would find a way to keep Yumi from being delivered to the hut.
Okay. Yumi will say that if you find the escape pod, then that means that you could have potentially found me or tracked me, or they may still want to come after me. If I were to help you with this mojo, what would I be doing? She says.
We need to get information from an Imperial base. I wasn't given the details. If we go there, odds are it's going to be. I'll try and schedule a delivery to it, get in, and then from there, it would be basically find a way to get away, try and get the information and get out.
She'll nod her head and she'll say, so if I were to assist you with this, would there be a reasoning to drop my disguise? Could I just blend in as a member of the crew, at least for one job? I'm just asking these things because I feel a sense of obligation. She says that if you are willing to do this for me, she says I should be willing to return the favor. And since I may never see you again, this may be the only opportunity that I have to return the favor.
So, if I don't find you, there's not even any guarantee that we're going to get this job.
She nods her head.
So, if we get the job, I can say that I found some additional help and you could assist us with it.
She nods her head. And then she will look at Zagar. And in basic, she will say, I do not know them like you do. You know my feelings on the matter of the entirety of the situation that I'm in. Zager will nod his head. And she'll say, whatever you decide, I will go along. Zagar will then kind of cross his arms and he'll say, well, if they need her in her normal form, and then he'll kind of rethink it and he'll say, well, if there's an opportunity you could get the job without the droid, air quotes, he says, I don't see why we couldn't just do the job as is right now. However, whatever she would normally be able to do, she can still do. Just they don't need to know it. And then if for some reason there is some kind of they're really wanting the droid on this one, it would clear things up. We could possibly let her do her thing. There's just the problem of if they get aggressive, I'm gonna defend her.
And I completely understand that. You are here of your own free will. I told you. Whenever you want to leave, all you need to do is say the word.
He nods his head.
That was one of the first things I told you when you got on the ship.
He nods his head and he'll look over at Nina and Frey and he'll say, well, I think as much as I'd like to leave, he says, I do believe Yumi's right. That this would potentially be the last time, he says, that we would ever see Richard and the crew. And we could at least, regardless of what final decision's made, that we should at least help them out for one more job, he says, and we can probably see about going along our way from there. Nina will nod her head and kind of have this approving look of like, yeah, I mean, if you're dead set on it, I don't see why not.
I appreciate it.
All right. So now we have that one. Was there any other things that were going to be said or brought up by Crom or Kanza?
At the moment, I don't have anything I really need to do. Just doing his work.
Yep. Okay. Kanza, you're kind of walking around after you've unloaded all your stuff and things of that. Did you want to snoop around and maybe chime in or introduce yourself to the Akozik? I mean, you don't
For the
have
time
to.
being, she is going to try and keep a little bit of distance.
Okay.
Until she
Okay.
can figure out what's going on and just be walking around away from that direction.
Alrighty then. So we will actually wrap it up there.
Okay.
So I will want to say another thing to Yumi.
Yeah.
Couple.
Yeah.
Look at Yumi and go, I told you that if there was any way to avoid taking you there, that I would do it. I am a man of my word, and I appreciate you being patient while I found the solution. That being said, Crom has been tinkering with a droid head. If you would want to help with that.
Nicely done. Okay. We will leave it there and we will wrap up tonight's episode. And then we will see what transpires next Saturday to see what happens with this whole thing with Mojo, whether or not Yumi will assist Crom with the droid head, how Kanza is going to evade the Kozik's child the entirety of her stay on the DP-28. So we'll see. So did you guys have fun?
I had a blast, and I feel like I threw a wrench in a gear.
You didn't. That look was more of a, oh, do they know what they're getting into?
Nope, but it sounds like pandemonium, and that's been fun so far.
Hey, as the show is called Dice Dorks and Danger, not Dice Dorks and Fluffy Pillows. I mean,
I really get the feeling that what I just did is really going to lean into that last word.
what, Fluffy Pillows? No, I gotcha. Oh, Lord Almighty, that's gonna be interesting. I do need a little bit of time to think on that one because I need a little bit of time to think on. I wanna if I don't have to rush into decisions like this, I try not to. But
Hey, I
there-
enjoy
yeah.
making the DM think as much as the DM enjoys making us think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because I know I had a couple ideas and things that just kind of more or less is gonna speed some things along. So we'll
There's not even a guarantee that she's going to be able to get it working with the parts we have.
This is also true. This is one of a few different things I was thinking about while I was going that, oh no, they don't know what they're asking. So, all right. Crom, my man, Gilius.
Yes.
How are you liking it?
I'm liking it.
Good, good.
Mm,
Wookie, have any impressions on anything, really?
Well, things are gonna get interesting. I can just feel it. Oh, we're pissing off a hut. There's that.
Possibly pissing off a hut. Possibly.
Possibly pissing off the Imperials.
Yeah.
On the moon of our home base.
Right? So this is also a reason why I wanted to cut it there, so that way you guys could have time to really stop and think about if you took this job, what you'd want to do. And then hopefully Dead Man Bones and Jinja Ninja will watch this and kind of, think on it before next Saturday so we don't have another PowerPoint station incident.
Hopefully.
I'm not getting my hopes up.
I mean, we're gonna have to just wait and see. So, welcome to Arena Flair, officially to the Dice Dorks and Danger cast, playing Kanza. As you have known, being our moderator, it doesn't always go this smooth, and a lot of times there are dice rolls and things but since there wasn't a lot of combat and things in this one, what did you think? Have fun?
It is definitely very interesting, and I can't wait to see how I cacaw my way through this.
Caw. Inside joke,
touched
people.
me to my soul.
Yes, that's right. So, alrighty then. Yeah, I think with that, I'm just going to say thank you so much for joining us. Absolute pleasure, absolute blast. I love doing these times of just sitting down and role playing. It's not all about just throwing the dice. If you do your world building and character building at the same time, it makes it just as much interesting as dodging blaster bullets and trying to beat the big bad. So yeah, that's that. So we will catch you next week, peeps. Laters.
Bye.
Bye.